Hi, my loves. Let's do a get ready with me for a family graduation party. We're going out. It's 4:15. We need to be there by 5, but I'm going to be an hour fashionably late. Let's start by saying anyone fighting battles, demons of their own, breaking generational curses, having to fight narcissists, or just plain growing out of your old ways, congratulations. Because it is one hard journey, and I am a late bloomer and right with you on that. It's hard in general just to change your ways or to get out of old dysfunctional ways that your family has brought you up in. But it's even harder when you have to really break what I call and what I've read generational curses. Generational trauma is a real thing, my loves. And thank God for social media. Thank God for TikTok and Instagram, where I was able to learn about this exact word and understand myself a little bit better. And that just makes us lucky compared to our parents who didn't get the chance to do that. I know a lot of you don't know me, and I pick and choose what I share in TikTok. As it grows, I would like to start to get more and more open. But let's just say that I am a first generation American born here in the US. My dad has been here almost 60 years. I am a grown woman. Well, one of the main things about me is my whole life has been chaotic for all I can remember. It has seriously been chaos my whole life. I had an arranged marriage at 16 years old where my parents, mainly my mom, took me to Afghanistan and got me married off to my cousin. And that also included my sister, who got married at 14, got my brother engaged at 11. I was engaged at the young age of 10, which she was pointing out to a little video. You know, back then it was VHS cassettes, and every time they would ship them over here to America, my aunts or uncles, she'd be like, "That's your husband," which happened to also be my cousin. I am no longer in that relationship because I know you guys are going to ask. The upside of that is that I have my two amazing, beloved children, Hamza and Aisha, which we've gone through so much together, especially Hamza and Aisha, one boy, one girl. We have gone through hell and back. It took 3 years just to talk to my daughter again, who's now 19. And then me and Hamza, I call him Bums for short. That's his little nickname. We've gone through a lot together, and we bonded also about 3 years. When me and her stopped talking, me and him bonded about 3.5, 4 years ago. He's an amazing artist. I have shared some of his music on here. He's like my best friend. My kids are all my best friends, and they're the ones I don't want to pass this damn shit to. The downside of it, of course, led to very immature. I'm a late bloomer. I'll admit that. Super immature. My kids are sometimes way more mature than me. It took away my youth. It took away my teenage years, my childhood. It would be so different maybe for someone who was born and raised back home, but to take a complete American soccer player who was a soccer captain, who was supposed to be in, college with a soccer scholarship who she even played soccer when she was 14, 15, and 16 because her parents wouldn't allow her to. It took all that away and turned this little girl, this 16-year-old American Afghan girl, into a wife. And the brainwash pretty much began when I landed there and, ended up getting married a year and a half later while I lived there. So I lived a total about 2 years or a year and a half in Pakistan and 6 months in Afghanistan when the first set of Taliban were ruling. I grew up in Utah with no family here. In fact, there was just like a handful of Afghans and Pakistanis and a little bit of Arabs, and we all kind of grew up together. We had one masjid in Utah, and we just had just a small community of Muslims, and we didn't even know the difference what Afghan or Paki or all that was. So just to cut that part short. So obviously when I got brainwashed, I'll tell you what my reasons were. I had never had family in America. I had no cousins, no grandma, no grandpa, no aunt, no mama, no khala, no amma, no nothing. And I had gone back and forth to Pakistan when I was a little girl with my mom and dad. But when I was 16, I just was a little bit more mature, and it was one of the first times I'd ever seen some cousins and aunts and uncles in a different light. Cousins back home are just so crazy. I mean, this was 22 years ago. they're so loving and they're so caring, and they braid your hair and they shower you, and there's just so much love being spread by your aunts and your uncles. And for the most part, I know it was all genuine. And then there was some parts that now I understand were because they wanted their children to come to America. So, you know, we got to treat her real good because she's about to take my child to America. So, well, you know, unfortunately it had to be that way, but it is what it is. And it's total forgiveness in today's time, but it's the truth. After about, you know, 6 months to a year of just being showered with so much family love, and them all telling you, you know, Americans will divorce you. You don't want to get married there. It's divorce and this and this and this. And everybody's doing it. Everybody's marrying their cousins. And I looked over and all my cousins were married to each other. So I was like, okay. And I loved the love so much. There was so much love being spread that I was like, okay, I'll do it. And, you know, you see all these glamorous weddings. I swear to God, my wedding had hundreds of people in it. So then you agree. I always knew it was going to be fairly hard to fit a lot of my life story into 10 minutes. So I'll give you bits and pieces here and there, and then we'll just move along, you know. But yeah, I got married. Let's make long story short. And I, you know, I loved it because I thought I was just like living just the life. I was washing clothes in an aluminum tin with my hands, and I was learning to bake bread and doing the flour for my challah, and I just was like, this is the coolest life ever. Like, when I tell you I was naive, the most naive female you've ever met in your goddamn life, ever. But you know what? It was my dream life back then. I thought, this is so cool. So I did all the wifey things. I had no responsibilities, that's why. Then September 11th happened and the world changed, and I had to rush back to America. And the only way I could come back is if I was pregnant, and it just so happened to be I was pregnant with my very first golden child, Hamza. So then I came back and I was pregnant, and I was like, no, I don't want to come back, but I had to because America then now changed. It was no longer the same. I left with everybody running up all the way up to where you can go on the airplane, my best friend saying goodbye to me. I came back and you couldn't even get like to the front gate. Like, you had to go all the way downstairs to by the front doors to get out of the airport to even leave the airport. Anyways, at the tender age of 18, I had to now like start working and save up money to bring him and also like take care of him. So then he comes to America when my son was 1.5 years old, and I was financially providing, and I just didn't, you know, like that. But I've always been a financial provider in my relationships due to me being so young and not learning any better. I don't get why my mom even did that, because my dad provides for her and is a biochemist and is super smart. But I was a provider to that husband and kind of kept doing that for the next one too, which is where I went wrong. I finished hair school and had ambitions to open up my own salon, buy houses. Like, I was so ambitious at that very young age. And when he came, Hamza was about 1.5 years old, and I stayed in the relationship and was devoted and just, or devoted, whatever, and got pregnant quickly with my daughter. And to a non-provider, he just wanted to be lazy, not do anything. He no longer is lazy, obviously, but at that time, and I had way too many ambitions, and so I just didn't know how to like help him change. I was only 19, 20 years old, 21, and he wouldn't change. So what I did, nobody would let me leave. My sister had already gave us the bad name leaving her husband at like 17 years old. So I did what all a young teenager, young girl knew how to do, was just leave. But I left with my kids. The story goes on and on and on, but let's just stop there. He had a win-win situation because he stole 40 grand from me, so he was 40 grand richer, even though I saved that money. I worked hard, but he stole it, so it's all good. But a lot more happened after that. My life fell apart. Right after that, he probably bad-dua'd me or something, whatever. But just even after that, all the way up to just recently, it's been nothing but chaos and tragedy. And now I'm just learning to break that trauma and that chaos and learn to try to grow. And so I'll keep sharing more as we go along. I'm gonna put my dress on because this video is now 10 minutes long.